Want to make women crave you without saying a single word? Stop trying too hard and start mastering the power of silence. In this video, I'll teach you a simple yet insanely effective trick, the pause technique, to instantly spark sexual tension and transform any conversation into pure attraction. The secret to instantly sparking attraction isn't about having the smoothest pickup line or being the funniest guy in the room. It's not about endless conversations or proving how interesting you are. No, it's about learning to do what 99% of men are too scared to even try. Embracing silence. That's right, silence. Because when there's silence, there's tension, and when there's tension, attraction starts to build. Now let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're in a conversation with a woman, and things are going well. There's laughter, eye contact, and a sense of ease. Then, inevitably, the conversation hits a natural pause. Suddenly, it feels like the world stops turning. Your heart races. Your brain starts scrambling to find something to say. You panic, blurting out a random question or comment just to fill the gap. Sound familiar? Most guys do exactly that. They rush to kill the silence because they're uncomfortable with it. They think, if I'm not saying something, she's going to lose interest. But here's the truth. Those moments of silence are not your enemy. They are your greatest ally. You see, silence creates a spark. It introduces tension into the interaction, and tension is the fuel for attraction. Think of it like electricity. It's that unspoken charge that makes a moment feel alive, makes it feel special, and yes, makes it feel sexual. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to reading energy. They can sense the subtext of your body language, your pauses, and your tone far more than you realize. So when you embrace the silence instead of fearing it, you're sending a powerful message. I'm confident. I'm in control. I don't need to fill every second with chatter to keep you interested. And trust me, that message is irresistible. Now let's break this down into actionable steps so you can start using the pause technique in your interactions today. The first thing you need to do is reframe how you think about silence. Most men associate silence with awkwardness. They see it as a void that must be filled. But silence is not a void, it's an opportunity. It's a moment where you can shift the dynamic from casual to charged. When the conversation naturally pauses, instead of scrambling to say something, I want you to stop. Breathe. Hold the moment. That's the foundation of the pause technique. But here's where the magic happens. Eye contact. When you pair silence with strong, deliberate eye contact, you're creating a direct connection that words simply can't replicate. Think of it this way. Words communicate information, but silence and eye contact communicate emotion. They create intimacy. They let her feel your presence on a deeper level. So during the pause, lock eyes with her. Hold her gaze for 3 or 4 seconds. Don't rush. Don't look away. And here's the cherry on top. Add a subtle smirk. Not a full-on grin, but just a hint of a smile that says, I know something you don't. That combination of silence, eye contact, and a smirk is lethal in the best way possible. It immediately shifts the energy. She'll start to wonder, what's he thinking? Why is he looking at me like that? Her mind will race to fill in the blanks, and that curiosity creates attraction. Now let me be real with you. The first few times you try this, it's going to feel awkward. Your brain will scream at you to say something, to do something, to break the tension, but that discomfort is exactly what you need to lean into. It's part of the process. In fact, the tension you're feeling in those moments is the same tension she's feeling, and that's the whole point. Attraction is born out of tension. It's that jittery, electric feeling that makes a moment feel charged. So instead of running from it, I want you to embrace it. Bask in it. Let it work for you. Here's another thing to keep in mind. When you're comfortable with silence, it changes how she perceives you. Most guys are so desperate to impress women that they talk too much, they overshare, or they try to be overly entertaining. But when you use the pause technique, you're doing the opposite. You're showing restraint. You're showing control. And that's what makes you stand out. Women are drawn to men who are calm under pressure, who don't feel the need to perform, and who can hold their ground in moments of silence. Let's take this a step further and talk about how the pause technique can actually make it easier to keep the conversation flowing. That might sound counterintuitive. After all, silence is the absence of words, right? But here's the thing. When you're not panicking to fill every gap in the conversation, your mind has the space to think clearly. You're not scrambling to come up with something to say. You're allowing the next topic to emerge naturally. And often, she'll be the one to break the silence because she'll feel the need to fill the gap. When she does, she's investing in the interaction, which only deepens the connection. Now, let's talk about balance. Because while the pause technique is powerful, it's not something you want to overdo. Too much silence can become overwhelming or even annoying. This isn't about turning every conversation into a staring contest. It's about using pauses strategically to create moments of tension and release. Think of it like a dance: push and pull, build and release. You build the tension with a pause, then release it with a playful comment, a laugh, or a shift in the conversation. That balance is what keeps the interaction dynamic and engaging. For example, let's say you're on a date and the conversation hits a natural pause. Instead of panicking, you hold her gaze, smirk, and let the silence linger for 3 seconds. Then you lean in slightly and say something playful like, "You're trying really hard not to smile right now, aren't you?" That comment not only breaks the tension, but also flips the dynamic in your favor. It shows that you're confident, observant, and comfortable with the moment. And here's the best part. The more you practice the pause technique, the more natural it will feel. You'll start to notice how women respond to it, how their body language shifts, how their eyes linger on yours, how their tone becomes softer and more flirtatious. You'll see firsthand how those moments of silence transform the interaction. And over time, you'll develop an intuitive sense of when to pause, how long to hold it, and when to release the tension. It's like building a new muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But let's not forget the broader implications of mastering this technique. The ability to embrace silence and create tension isn't just about seduction. It's about communication as a whole. It's about learning to hold space in a conversation, to listen more than you speak, and to connect with people on a deeper level. These skills will serve you not just in your dating life, but in every area of your life, whether it's networking, building friendships, or even leading a team. Now, I want to share a quick story to illustrate how powerful this technique can be. A friend of mine, let's call him Mike, used to struggle with conversations. He was the guy who would talk too much, overthink everything, and try way too hard to impress women. But once he started using the pause technique, everything changed. One day, he was chatting with a woman at a coffee shop. The conversation was going well, and then it hit a natural pause. Instead of scrambling to fill the gap, he remembered what I taught him. He held her gaze, smirked, and let the silence linger. After a few seconds, she smiled and said, "What are you thinking about?" That simple question opened the door to a deeper, more flirtatious conversation. And by the end of their chat, she was the one asking for his number. The takeaway here is simple. When you're comfortable with silence, you're in control of the interaction. You're not reacting to the moment, you're shaping it. And that's what makes you magnetic. So here's your challenge. The next time you're in a conversation with a woman, I want you to deliberately pause at least twice. Hold the silence for 3 to 4 seconds, maintain eye contact, and add that subtle smirk. Pay attention to how she responds. Notice how the dynamic shifts, and most importantly, resist the urge to rush. Trust the process. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel, and the more success you'll have. Remember, attraction isn't about trying harder. It's about being present, being confident, and knowing how to create those sparks of tension that make a moment unforgettable. So go out there, embrace the silence, and watch what happens. You've got this.